The moment Meghan Markle walked onto the red carpet, the air seemed to shift. Cameras flashed in rapid succession. The crowd's chatter crescendoed into a collective murmur of curiosity, and for a fleeting instant, all eyes were hers. But this was no ordinary red carpet appearance. This was the 2025 Emmy Awards, one of the most anticipated nights in Hollywood, a stage where stars are crowned and reputations either made or broken. And on this night, Meghan Markle was about to face a confrontation no one could have predicted. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Imagine standing in front of the world, dressed in designer elegance, poised to make an impression, only to be met with an unexpected and humiliating challenge. That was Meghan's reality that evening. For years, she had walked similar red carpets with grace, charm, and an air of confidence. Yet tonight, something felt off. A tension lingered in the air, subtle at first, almost imperceptible, like the calm before a storm. No one outside the backstage corridors could have anticipated the drama that was about to unfold. The question that haunted every observer, every fan, and every entertainment journalist that night was simple yet shocking. How could someone like Meghan Markle, a woman accustomed to global attention and Hollywood acclaim, suddenly be told she was not welcome? The scenario was almost cinematic in its cruelty, a modern-day Cinderella story, but with the glass slipper replaced by flashing cameras and a verbal ultimatum. As the cameras captured her every step, whispers began circulating among the media. Speculation flared, and the social media sphere ignited within minutes. Fans debated, insiders whispered, and those who were present backstage started to exchange glances that conveyed far more than words could capture. The tension was palpable, not just because of Meghan's presence, but because of an unexpected figure who would soon command the spotlight in a way no one anticipated: Collin Jost. Collin Jost, known to millions as the affable comedian and actor from Saturday Night Live, had walked onto the scene with a quiet confidence that belied the storm brewing behind him. Normally, Jost's humor and charm disarmed even the most critical of critics, but tonight he carried a seriousness that was immediately apparent to those who knew him well. A few backstage staff whispered to one another, noting the peculiar intensity in his eyes. Something had shifted. What no one realized at that moment was that Jost was about to assume an unusual position of authority, a position that would pit him directly against Meghan Markle. You might be wondering, what could possibly drive a comedian to confront someone like Meghan Markle in such a public and high-stakes setting? Was it a personal grudge, an enforcement of backstage protocol, or a spontaneous reaction to events we may never fully understand? The truth, as we will uncover, is layered, complex, and filled with contradictions that would shock even the most seasoned Hollywood insiders. As Meghan continued her walk, there were small but telling signs that all was not as it seemed. Security personnel subtly shifted positions, whispering to one another in tones that betrayed anxiety. Event organizers peeked through the curtains, their faces betraying a mixture of disbelief and concern. Even from a distance, fans could sense the unusual energy. It was as if the red carpet itself had become a stage for a drama far greater than the spectacle of glitz and glamour typically associated with award shows. Backstage, whispers transformed into murmurs of speculation. Someone had seen a subtle exchange between Jost and the event producer, a conversation marked by hushed urgency. Phones began to vibrate with rapid texts, messages sent between PR teams and assistants attempting to gauge the potential fallout. What Meghan did not yet know was that the confrontation she was about to face was not a spontaneous event. It was the culmination of hidden tensions, overlooked protocols, and insider decisions that had been brewing for weeks, if not months. Imagine the psychology of the moment. Meghan, confident and self-assured, expecting recognition, suddenly faced with the invisible forces of Hollywood etiquette and unspoken rules that she may have never fully understood. Collin Jost, typically known for his comedic timing and quick wit, now assumed a role that blurred the line between humor and authority. It was a collision of worlds. Meghan's polished public persona against the backstage realities of a high-stakes entertainment ecosystem. And yet, what makes this story even more compelling is that the public perception of events would diverge sharply from reality. As cameras captured Meghan's poised expressions and the flashes of photographers illuminated the scene, the world outside would soon see only fragments of a much more intricate drama. Leaks, insider reports, and social media speculation would fill in gaps, often contradicting one another. One clip might show Meghan looking composed and graceful. Another might reveal the subtle signs of frustration and disbelief. Fans would debate, journalists would analyze every frame, and Hollywood gossip columns would explode with conjecture. But the most critical question remained. Why was Meghan Markle, a global figure accustomed to high-profile appearances, suddenly being confronted in a manner that made her question her own place at the Emmy Awards? This question was not merely rhetorical. It spoke to broader themes of celebrity culture, the power dynamics in Hollywood, and the invisible hierarchies that dictate access and recognition. Meghan's confrontation with Jost, seemingly simple on the surface, was emblematic of a much larger narrative. The clash between expectation and reality, image and authority, perception and truth. The stakes were not just personal for Meghan. In Hollywood, every appearance is a calculated move, every smile analyzed, every gesture dissected for potential meaning. A public confrontation, especially one that could be construed as exclusion or embarrassment, has ripple effects that extend far beyond the event itself. Careers can be affected, brand partnerships jeopardized, and personal relationships strained. The audience watching from home or scrolling through social media may have thought they were witnessing a minor red carpet incident, but behind the scenes, the ramifications were profound. Even before Jost delivered his now infamous words, "You're not a guest," the atmosphere had reached a boiling point. Meghan's mind raced as she tried to comprehend the sudden tension. Was it a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, or something more deliberate? The answer, as we will explore in the chapters ahead, is far from simple. It involves a tangled web of backstage politics, hidden alliances, and calculated moves that few outsiders would ever see or understand. For those who attended the event, and for those who would later witness leaked footage online, the moment was electric. The red carpet became a stage, not just for glamour, but for confrontation. Fans were divided instantly. Some condemned Jost's actions, others defended the strict enforcement of guest protocols, and a few speculated about hidden motives, ranging from personal vendettas to strategic power plays. The intensity of the situation was magnified by the omnipresence of cameras, the instant transmission of images and clips across social media, and the relentless commentary of entertainment journalists. And yet, even with all eyes on her, Meghan maintained a careful composure. There was a tension in her posture, a subtle narrowing of the eyes, a slight tightening of her lips. She was calculating, observing, weighing her options. It was a delicate balance, asserting authority and dignity, without escalating the situation further. But what she did not know, and what the cameras did not yet capture, was the extent to which this confrontation was orchestrated. Hidden cameras, backstage staff, and insiders would later reveal details that transformed a seemingly simple scolding into a complex drama involving reputation, power, and Hollywood politics. As the red carpet stretched out before her, Meghan's thoughts must have raced through every possible scenario. Should she step aside? Should she confront the situation head-on? Or should she retreat, maintaining her dignity, but potentially signaling submission? These decisions, made in mere seconds, would have long-lasting consequences. Every move was being recorded, every expression scrutinized, and every gesture amplified in the court of public opinion. And just when it seemed the tension could not escalate further, Collin Jost approached with a demeanor that combined authority and subtle menace. No words had yet been exchanged, but the silent communication was clear, boundaries were being drawn, and Meghan's place at the event was about to be questioned in a manner no one saw coming. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if sensing that something unprecedented was about to unfold, a confrontation that would dominate headlines, trend on social media, and spark endless debate among fans and celebrities alike. Then it happened. Jost's voice cut through the murmurs and cameras. "You're not a guest." 3 words, simple yet devastating. The phrase carried weight beyond its brevity. It was a declaration, a challenge, and a judgment all at once. Meghan froze, momentarily stunned by the audacity and precision of the delivery. The crowd sensed the tension, cameras pivoted to capture the moment, and an electric hush fell over the red carpet. What was meant to be a night of celebration had suddenly transformed into a battleground of perception, protocol, and personal power. But the story does not end there. In fact, this confrontation was only the first domino in a series of events that would ripple through Hollywood, social media, and public opinion. Leaks, insider reports, and subsequent reactions would reveal layers of intrigue, alliances, and secrets that no one outside the backstage corridors could have anticipated. The 2025 Emmy Awards. The 2025 Emmy Awards had officially transformed from a glittering celebration into a tension-charged spectacle, and the question on everyone's mind was simple. Why now? Why this event, and why Meghan Markle? She was, after all, a seasoned figure in Hollywood, accustomed to high-profile appearances and navigating the complex social terrain of red carpets. Yet here she was, confronted not by paparazzi, not by critics, but by Collin Jost, a man whose charm usually diffused situations rather than inflamed them. Something about this night, something about this confrontation, was different. Immediately after Jost's words, the atmosphere thickened. Cameras clicked incessantly, but the flashes seemed almost accusatory rather than celebratory. Staff members glanced at one another nervously. Event coordinators whispered into their earpieces, trying to make sense of what had just occurred. For anyone watching, the clip of Jost telling Meghan, "You're not a guest," might have seemed like a minor red carpet hiccup. But those in the room knew that every word carried weight, and every move was being analyzed for its potential fallout. The tension between Meghan and Jost was palpable, and it raised questions that no one could answer immediately. Was this a personal disagreement? A misunderstanding about guest privileges? Or was it something far more strategic? Something orchestrated by unseen forces to provoke a reaction from Meghan and manipulate public perception? Insiders later revealed that there had been a flurry of backstage communications leading up to the event, messages between production teams and security staff that suggested Meghan's presence had already caused unease. But what exactly was the source of that unease? To understand, we have to rewind a few weeks. In the lead-up to the 2025 Emmys, rumors had begun circulating about Meghan's supposed behavior at prior industry events. Stories of tension with other celebrities, disagreements with organizers, and subtle acts of defiance had begun to gain traction. Some were blown out of proportion, others contained kernels of truth. Yet combined, they painted a picture that many backstage staff could not ignore. Meghan Markle, some whispered, was unpredictable, and in the world of live events, unpredictability is dangerous. Collin Jost, for his part, had not been briefed in the usual sense. According to insiders, he had been informed of general event protocols, but not the full history of backstage politics surrounding Meghan's appearances. And yet, he acted decisively, almost instinctively, when he saw her approaching. Why did Jost, a man known for his comedic timing and public ease, suddenly take on a policing role? Some suggested it was instinct. Others hinted at subtle pressures from producers and security teams who feared potential disruptions. But whatever the reasoning, his delivery of those 3 words, "You're not a guest," was precise, measured, and undeniable. The audience watching at home had no way of knowing the storm brewing behind the velvet ropes. Social media erupted almost instantly. Clips were shared with captions that framed the incident in dramatic terms. Meghan Markle humiliated at Emmys. Collin Jost tells Meghan she's not welcome. Red carpet showdown. Fans debated furiously. Supporters of Meghan decried the confrontation as unfair and disrespectful, while detractors argued that protocol had to be maintained, regardless of celebrity status. The digital universe exploded, and in real time, public opinion began forming around fragments of a scene that was far more complex than it appeared. Meanwhile, backstage, Meghan's inner circle scrambled. Her PR team, seasoned in managing crises of all shapes and sizes, had never dealt with something exactly like this. The situation was delicate. A live event, cameras rolling, social media buzzing, and a confrontation that could define public perception for weeks or months. How should they respond? Should Meghan assert herself, creating a scene that might escalate tensions further? Or should she retreat, maintaining dignity but potentially appearing vulnerable or excluded? Every decision carried consequences, and those watching knew that the wrong move could dominate headlines for days. Then there was the matter of timing. Insider reports suggested that Jost's words were not delivered at random. Something in Meghan's previous actions, combined with last-minute instructions from the event's production team, had created a scenario where confrontation was almost inevitable. There were rumors that Meghan had allegedly attempted to bypass certain backstage restrictions, an accusation she would vehemently deny later. Whether or not these claims were true, they created an air of inevitability around the moment. The collision between Meghan and Jost had been quietly set up long before either stepped onto the red carpet. But what about Jost? What went through his mind in that split second? Sources suggest that he was aware of the delicacy of the situation. He knew Meghan's public influence, her ability to command attention, and the potential for a media frenzy. Yet he also knew the need to enforce boundaries. In Hollywood, insiders say, boundaries are not just about rules. They're about power, hierarchy, and perception. By telling Meghan, "You're not a guest," Jost had effectively drawn a line, one that many would later analyze for hidden meanings, motives, and implications. The emotional impact on Meghan was immediate, even if subtle. She maintained her composure, of course, but the flicker of surprise, the subtle tightening of her jaw, and the narrowing of her eyes were all captured by sharp-eyed photographers. Those who have spent years analyzing red carpet behavior know these cues. They signal calculation, contemplation, and sometimes frustration. Meghan, in that moment, was processing more than just Jost's words. She was processing the implications. The potential for public embarrassment, the hidden forces at play backstage, and the perception of millions watching online. And then came the whispers, spreading like wildfire. Some backstage staff claimed they overheard conversations between Jost and security personnel, suggesting that the confrontation was partially staged to test Meghan's response. Others insisted it was purely spontaneous, a genuine moment of tension triggered by perceived protocol violations. The contradictions only fueled speculation, giving journalists and fans plenty to dissect. What was real? What was orchestrated? What was a misunderstanding amplified by cameras and social media? The answers were murky, and the lack of clarity only heightened the drama. As Meghan adjusted her posture and prepared to move, the event producers made subtle gestures to redirect attention. They signaled to photographers, leaned into the moment with carefully placed camera angles, and subtly maneuvered security personnel to contain the scene. The choreography was delicate. One misstep could escalate the confrontation into a viral scandal. But even with these measures, Meghan's reaction, or perceived reaction, was already being scrutinized online. Clips were going viral within minutes, reactions piling on from celebrities, influencers, and fans worldwide. Every tweet, every Instagram story, every short-form video was dissecting, speculating, and sensationalizing the moment. So what did Meghan do next? How did she navigate the delicate balance between asserting herself and preserving dignity? The answer is complex and multi-layered. Reports from insiders suggest that she employed a combination of calm detachment and calculated engagement. She maintained eye contact with Jost, subtly signaling awareness without aggression. Her body language, while controlled, hinted at underlying tension and perhaps a recognition that she had just been publicly challenged. The subtle power play was now in full swing, and anyone watching could sense that the drama was far from over. This was not merely a red carpet incident. This was a study in celebrity dynamics, public perception, and backstage politics. Every decision made in those seconds would be magnified, interpreted, and repurposed across multiple platforms. Meghan's response, whether conscious or instinctual, would become a key piece in the puzzle of this unfolding narrative. And just when it seemed the tension could not rise any higher, a new variable entered the equation. Someone in the audience, whose identity was not immediately clear, leaned forward, whispering something that Meghan's team later described as unexpected and potentially destabilizing. This whisper, these few words, had the effect of further complicating an already fraught situation. The combination of Jost's direct confrontation and this new element created a perfect storm. Everyone backstage, everyone on the red carpet, and eventually the millions watching online, was about to witness a series of events that would ripple far beyond the Emmy Awards that night. What exactly was whispered? Who was the mysterious figure? And how would Meghan respond to this new challenge? Those are questions that will unravel in the chapters ahead, revealing alliances, betrayals, and calculated moves that no one outside the inner circles could anticipate. One thing was certain. The 2025 Emmy Awards had already transcended its intended purpose of celebration. It had become a stage for confrontation, for spectacle, and for the unveiling of hidden dynamics in the world of Hollywood power and celebrity culture. What exactly was whispered? Who was the mysterious figure? And how would Meghan respond to this new challenge? Those are questions that will unravel in the chapters ahead, revealing alliances, betrayals, and calculated moves that no one outside the inner circles could anticipate. One thing was certain. The 2025 Emmy Awards had already transcended its intended purpose of celebration. It had become a stage for confrontation, for spectacle, and for the unveiling of hidden dynamics in the world of Hollywood power and celebrity culture. And yet, in that moment, Meghan's next move remained unknown. The world watched, poised on the edge of suspense, unaware that the true story, the layers of intrigue, secrecy, and strategy, was just beginning to unfold. But what came next would not only shock the audience, it would send ripples through Hollywood and social media alike, revealing secrets that had been carefully hidden for years, and no one saw it coming. The moment hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Meghan's eyes scanned the room, absorbing the glances of actors, producers, and VIP guests who were suddenly hyper-aware of her presence. Some stared with curiosity, others with subtle judgment, and a few with barely concealed glee. Hollywood thrives on spectacle, and moments like these are the lifeblood of gossip columns, social feeds, and backstage whispers. Every heartbeat, every step, and every flicker of emotion can be dissected. And tonight, Meghan Markle had inadvertently, or perhaps deliberately, placed herself at the center of that magnifying glass. So, what does one do when confronted with public humiliation in front of thousands and an online audience numbering in the millions? Meghan, it seemed, had been rehearsing for such moments for years. She paused for just a fraction of a second, a lifetime in red carpet time, then moved forward with calculated poise. She didn't rush. She didn't stumble. But every step she took carried weight, a silent message. She was neither retreating nor conceding. She was preparing for engagement, and those watching could sense it. Backstage, chaos reigned quietly. Event coordinators whispered frantically into earpieces, while security personnel subtly adjusted positions. It wasn't just Meghan who was being scrutinized. Collin Jost, still maintaining his composure, appeared momentarily unsettled, a rare crack in the actor-comedian's calm exterior. Sources would later report that even Jost felt the undercurrents of Hollywood politics intensifying around him, a recognition that his words, though intended to enforce protocol, had ignited something far bigger. Suddenly, a camera panned to capture a whispered exchange. A Hollywood publicist, known for navigating high-stakes crises with precision, leaned in toward Meghan, murmuring something that reportedly caused her eyes to narrow. Witnesses described a fleeting expression of surprise, then determination, as if a mental switch had been flipped. This wasn't merely a confrontation about guest lists. Something deeper, more calculated, was at play. Across the room, social media had already exploded. Short clips of the incident were shared with titles designed to provoke outrage. Meghan Markle shut down by Collin Jost. Red carpet humiliation or strategic move. She thought she could walk in. Then this happened. Tweets multiplied by the second. Instagram Reels captured every second of Meghan's reaction. Commentary ranged from supportive messages, "Stand your ground, Meghan," to sharply critical, "Rules are rules, Meghan." And in every case, the clip was incomplete, leaving room for speculation, misinformation, and a flurry of conspiracy theories. But behind the cameras, behind the flashes, and behind the online debates, there was another layer that few people would immediately understand. Meghan's inner circle had been working for weeks to orchestrate certain appearances at high-profile events like the Emmys. Every angle, every camera shot, every handshake, and every greeting had been meticulously planned to maintain her image, manage her narrative, and strategically position her in Hollywood's power dynamics. And yet, tonight, something had gone off script. Something unexpected had forced Meghan into improvisation. According to insider reports, The whisper from the unidentified figure, whose identity remains unknown, was more than a casual comment. It carried implications that could alter how Meghan's presence was perceived, not just at the Emmys, but in the broader entertainment landscape. Some believe it was a subtle warning, others suggest it was an attempt to destabilize her emotionally. Regardless, the effect was immediate. Meghan's composure remained outwardly intact, but her mind raced, calculating options, weighing reactions, and anticipating consequences. The pressure on Jost was equally immense. Typically, he's the master of quick wit, able to diffuse tension with humor and charm. But here, in the glare of cameras and the scrutiny of social media, even his usual tactics seemed insufficient. For a fleeting moment, he glanced toward the stage, as if seeking validation, support, or perhaps a signal that the confrontation should end. But no one offered it. The event producers were locked in their own calculations, balancing entertainment value against potential backlash, and ensuring that every participant adhered to a carefully constructed narrative. Meanwhile, Meghan's team debated quietly but urgently. One faction suggested a strategic retreat, allow her to step aside, avoid further confrontation, and let the moment pass without escalation. Another argued for immediate engagement, a carefully controlled response to reassert authority and influence, demonstrating that Meghan Markle could navigate even public challenges with confidence. Every second mattered. Every decision was amplified, not only by cameras, but by the hundreds of journalists, photographers, and digital content creators waiting for material to dissect, analyze, and disseminate. As Meghan walked slowly toward the designated area, the whispers grew louder. Celebrities nearby exchanged knowing glances, some smirking at the unfolding drama, others concerned about their own proximity to potential controversy. One source claimed that the energy in the room shifted palpably, as if Meghan's presence and Jost's confrontation had created a gravitational pull, drawing attention and curiosity like a magnet. And indeed, for the first time that evening, several seasoned industry professionals admitted to feeling a degree of suspense that few red carpet events ever produced. And then it happened. The unexpected twist that no one saw coming. A figure from outside Meghan's immediate circle, an individual with access to backstage communications, made a subtle but deliberate move. The specifics remain unconfirmed, but reports suggest that this person activated a chain of events that would dramatically escalate tensions. Cameras caught fleeting moments, a whispered word, a slight gesture, a hurried step. These small actions, invisible to most, would have consequences far beyond the room. The audience watching at home had no way of knowing the intricacies of this chain reaction. They only saw Meghan's composed exterior, Jost's poised yet slightly tense demeanor, and flashes capturing every angle of the encounter. Social media, of course, exploded with speculation. Within minutes, hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag Meghan vs. Jost appeared across multiple platforms. Short clips were dissected endlessly, with commentators claiming insight into motivations, alliances, and intentions that were often far from reality. Yet in this digital frenzy, one thing was clear. The world had turned its attention to this moment, and it would not look away. Backstage, the tension reached a peak. Meghan's inner circle was coordinating with security, strategizing her movements, and monitoring social media to anticipate any potential crises. Jost, for his part, remained professional, aware that his actions were being scrutinized not just by millions online, but by colleagues, producers, and industry insiders. Every gesture, every word, and every glance carried weight. One misstep could lead to an incident that dominated headlines for weeks, or worse, months. And in the midst of all this, Meghan made a subtle but powerful move. She reached into her clutch, retrieving an item that insiders later revealed was carefully chosen for tonight. A symbolic gesture, a visual statement, or perhaps a calculated tool of influence. The specifics are still under debate, but the effect was undeniable. Those who witnessed it backstage described a mixture of surprise, admiration, and shock. Cameras captured only a fraction, yet that fraction was enough to fuel speculation and elevate the tension exponentially. This was more than a confrontation. It was a chess game. Every move, every gesture, and every whispered word had implications. Meghan was not merely reacting. She was calculating, anticipating responses, and controlling her narrative in real time. Hollywood thrives on image, influence, and power dynamics, and Meghan Markle had just demonstrated her ability to navigate all three under extreme pressure. But the night was far from over. What started as a simple red carpet confrontation had set the stage for cascading consequences, involving figures from inside and outside the industry, digital platforms exploding with content, and unseen players maneuvering to exploit every angle. And through it all, one question remained. How far was Meghan willing to go to reclaim control of the narrative? And what would she do next when the whispers became louder, the pressure greater, and the stakes higher than ever before? Because what happened next didn't just challenge Meghan. It challenged the very hierarchy of influence and perception in Hollywood. And the outcome would shock even those who thought they knew the rules of the game. The room felt electric, almost unstable, as if the very air carried the tension of anticipation and uncertainty. Meghan Markle's subtle gesture had not gone unnoticed. While cameras only captured fleeting glimpses, insiders backstage were in a frenzy. One producer reportedly whispered, "She's playing a deeper game than anyone realizes." And indeed, the calculated precision of her movement, the timing, the placement, the optics, suggested a masterclass in controlling attention without overt confrontation. But would Hollywood see it as power or arrogance? Collin Jost, still maintaining his public composure, felt the subtle shift immediately. While outwardly he smiled, inwardly he was calculating damage control. The red carpet is a minefield. Every step is measured, every joke calibrated, and every comment scrutinized by millions both on social media and through live broadcasts. He had believed that telling Meghan she was not a guest would suffice. It would send a clear message. But Meghan had turned that confrontation into a spectacle that neither he nor the event organizers could fully control. As Meghan advanced slowly, security personnel subtly repositioned themselves, ensuring her safety while also preparing for potential interventions. For a moment, she moved as though in a trance, her eyes scanning, her body language poised, her lips pressed lightly together. Every movement broadcasted an unspoken message: "I am here. I will not cower." And the room, saturated with glances and murmurs, responded almost audibly. Meanwhile, the social media storm continued to intensify. Clips of the interaction were being shared with captions like, "Meghan doesn't back down," and "Collin Jost called her out." Then this happened. Each snippet ignited new waves of speculation. Viewers debated, dissected, and theorized. Was Meghan asserting dominance? Or was this a miscalculated risk that could damage her reputation? In Hollywood, perception often outweighs reality. And tonight, perception was a volatile currency, ready to spike or crash within seconds. But behind the scenes, an unexpected complication arose. A high-profile influencer, someone with insider access to the Emmys green room, slipped past security and approached Meghan, whispering words that would reportedly cause her to hesitate for the first time all evening. What was said remains unverified, but the reaction was instantaneous. Meghan's posture stiffened, her eyes flickered with an emotion somewhere between surprise and calculation. For a moment, the confident exterior wavered, and the room sensed it. Across the room, a group of celebrities exchanged silent observations. Some leaned in, curious to see how this would unfold. Others subtly adjusted their own positions, aware that proximity to Meghan at this exact moment could either lend them relevance or embroil them in controversy. Hollywood thrives on association, and anyone too close to a viral moment risks becoming part of the narrative, even if unintentionally. Meanwhile, Jost was experiencing a cascade of emotions he rarely admits publicly. He was focused, calculating, but a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. Had his words, intended as a firm boundary, inadvertently amplified Meghan's presence? Had he, in attempting to assert control, handed her the stage in a way that no one anticipated? A glance toward the producers confirmed his fears. The event's coordination team was scrambling to manage both the live broadcast and the impending social media fallout. The tension in the room escalated further when Meghan, after a deliberate pause, made another subtle but audacious move. Observers later noted that she adjusted a part of her outfit, a tiny shift in posture that seemed almost inconsequential to the untrained eye. But in Hollywood optics, it was a statement. Symbolic gestures can speak louder than words, and this one did not go unnoticed. Photographers captured it instantly, and the clip went viral within minutes. Even commentators unfamiliar with the backstage dynamics sensed that this was a moment of power assertion. At this point, the narrative was splitting into multiple layers. To the live audience and viewers at home, it appeared to be a simple red carpet confrontation. But backstage, there were layers of intrigue, strategy, and hidden maneuvering. Meghan's inner circle was quietly coordinating with allies across the room, sending messages, confirming safe passage routes, and anticipating potential interventions. Meanwhile, Jost's team was similarly engaged, consulting producers, security, and publicists to mitigate what could easily become a headline-making debacle. Then came the unexpected twist. Someone, reportedly an influential Hollywood agent with no official role at the event, intervened subtly. Their action, which went largely unnoticed by the cameras, set off a chain reaction. Two security personnel shifted positions, a producer signaled discreetly, and a minor technical disruption occurred in the live feed. This domino effect created just enough chaos to magnify Meghan's presence, forcing both Jost and the audience to recalibrate in real time. Observers backstage later described the scene as surreal. Meghan's calculated movements, the quiet interventions, and the cascading ripple effects of a single whispered word all combined to create a scenario rarely seen at such high-profile events. Social media commentators were unaware of these hidden dynamics. They only saw the result. Meghan remaining poised, Jost maintaining his professionalism, and a room collectively holding its breath. Meanwhile, the stakes escalated further when an unanticipated figure entered the room. Sources claim it was someone with direct influence over Emmy's scheduling and guest coordination. Their presence alone carried weight, signaling that Meghan's decisions could have consequences beyond the red carpet. Potential shifts in seating arrangements, media access, and even future invitations to high-profile industry events. In Hollywood, optics are everything, and tonight's optics were already precariously balanced. The tension reached an almost unbearable level when Meghan finally reached her intended position. For a moment, she paused, scanning the room one last time. Cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing each micro-expression. Social media exploded further as clips circulated with captions designed to tease drama, insinuate conflict, and spark debate. But even as viewers speculated, they couldn't fully grasp the calculated precision behind every move. Meghan was navigating not just a confrontation with Jost, but a complex web of influence, optics, and narrative control. And then, the moment that no one anticipated arrived. A subtle misstep, a hand gesture, a shifted stance, a nearly inaudible exchange, triggered a series of reactions that would ripple across the entire event. Staffers whispered, celebrities adjusted positions, security subtly intervened, and social media erupted with speculation, hashtags, and viral clips. It was a perfect storm of timing, influence, and perception, a single moment magnified to epic proportions. As the chaos unfolded, Meghan maintained an almost eerie calm. It was as if she had anticipated every possible contingency, every potential disruption, and every possible reaction. Her poise contrasted sharply with the flustered reactions of those around her, further intensifying the drama. And for the millions watching at home, it became clear, this was no ordinary red carpet moment. This was a masterclass in navigating public scrutiny, managing influence, and controlling narrative under pressure. But just as the tension seemed to peak, something unexpected happened. A figure, whose presence had been unaccounted for, made a move that would change everything. Cameras caught fleeting glimpses, insiders whispered rumors, and social media exploded once again. The stage was set for an escalation that no one in the room, or online, could have predicted. The room fell into a strange, suspended silence. It wasn't the kind of silence that comes from emptiness or boredom. No, this was the tension-filled hush that precedes chaos. Eyes darted, breaths quickened, and cameras captured angles that would soon define countless viral clips. Meghan Markle, poised as ever, noticed the subtle shift in energy, a movement too deliberate to be accidental. Someone was about to change everything. The figure emerged from the crowd, unannounced, almost like a shadow slipping into the limelight. Observers backstage later described the individual as calculated, confident, and utterly fearless. Their mere presence altered the dynamics in the room. Staffers stiffened, producers whispered urgent instructions, and a ripple of unease spread through the social media feeds already buzzing with anticipation. This was more than a celebrity encounter. This was a high-stakes maneuver, a move that could redefine narratives, influence optics, and potentially upend the carefully constructed decorum of the 2025 Emmy Awards. Every eye followed the figure's movements. Every camera lens focused. And in the midst of it all, Meghan maintained her composure. Her face the perfect mask of calm, but her mind was racing. What the public didn't see were the subtle, almost imperceptible signals exchanged between Meghan's team and the mysterious figure. A nod here, a brief exchange of words there. In Hollywood, the smallest gestures often carry enormous weight. The whispers, gestures, and glances were a silent language, one that the average viewer couldn't decode. But those in the know understood immediately. Something monumental was about to unfold. Collin Jost, realizing the stakes had shifted irreversibly, glanced at his team. They were scrambling to regain narrative control, to provide talking points, to manage both the live broadcast and the viral social media storm. But in that moment, he knew that the situation was evolving faster than any pre-planned script or strategy could handle. And then, the unexpected occurred. A whisper, barely audible, passed between Meghan and the mysterious figure. A word, a phrase, a signal that shifted the energy of the entire room. Observers backstage later claimed it was decisive, almost electric. Meghan's posture straightened, her confidence amplified, and the room seemed to hold its collective breath. No one in the audience, no matter how attentive, could anticipate what would happen next. The intricate choreography of power, perception, and strategy was about to reach its climax. And when it did, it would change the trajectory of the 2025 Emmys. And the public narrative surrounding Meghan Markle, forever. The room held its breath. A single whisper had done more than words ever could. It carried intent, authority, and the unspoken promise that something monumental was about to unfold. Meghan's eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the room, locking briefly with Collin Jost's. There was recognition there, a silent acknowledgement that the rules of the evening were shifting in real time. Backstage, producers were scrambling, their earpieces buzzing incessantly as they tried to maintain control of the unfolding narrative. Staffers whispered urgently to one another, glancing toward cameras and live feeds, knowing that millions of viewers were watching every microexpression. The tension was palpable, and even the most seasoned event coordinators could feel the weight of unpredictability pressing down. Then, without warning, Meghan made her move. It was subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but its impact was immediate. She shifted her stance, a calculated gesture that drew attention without overtly demanding it. Every photographer's lens swung toward her, every social media clip began to trend, and suddenly, she had the room's focus entirely. Collin Jost, momentarily caught off guard, realized the shift instantly. He had anticipated defiance, perhaps even an awkward confrontation, but this was theatrical precision. Meghan had managed to control attention, influence perception, and assert presence, all in one fluid movement. And now, with every eye on her, he had to respond, carefully calibrating every expression, every gesture, every word that might appear on camera. The mysterious figure remained a step behind, almost like a strategist observing a chessboard, calculating each potential outcome. Their presence was a silent force multiplier, subtly guiding the unfolding events without drawing attention to themselves. Every action they had taken so far had been deliberate, a silent hand nudging the narrative in a specific direction. Then came the confrontation, the one everyone had been anticipating, yet no one was truly prepared for. Meghan's gaze met Jost's directly. There was tension, but also strategy. She didn't speak yet. She let the moment stretch, drawing every observer into a vortex of suspense. Every second felt like an eternity. Social media exploded with speculation. What's going to happen? Are they about to clash? This could be the moment of the night. Finally, she spoke. Her words were measured, confident, and delivered with a calm authority that contrasted sharply with the chaos around them. "If you think I'm just another guest," she said, voice low but clear, "you've underestimated the situation and me." The audience, both live and virtual, felt the impact immediately. The statement was simple, yet layered with implications. It was assertive without aggression, confident without arrogance, and it instantly reframed the narrative. Meghan was no longer just an attendee. She had become a focal point, a presence that demanded recognition. Jost's response was quick, though restrained. He maintained professionalism, offering a subtle nod, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. In the volatile world of live events and social media scrutiny, overreaction could be disastrous. Every expression, every movement was analyzed, dissected, and shared instantly. He knew that any misstep could be amplified, taken out of context, and transformed into a viral headline. Backstage, the energy was electric. Producers were communicating frantically through earpieces, security personnel were repositioning subtly, and staffers whispered speculations about what might happen next. The unexpected had already occurred: the whispered message, the precise movements, the viral attention. And now, the confrontation had elevated the stakes even further. Social media was ablaze. Clips of the exchange were being shared with captions designed to provoke curiosity and debate. "Meghan doesn't back down at the Emmys." "Collin Jost faces unexpected challenge." Whispered words sparked drama on red carpet. Hashtags trended instantly, and the narrative began to take on a life of its own. The public was witnessing a live power play, though they only understood fragments of the backstage orchestration. And yet, the real drama was just beginning. Meghan's subtle shift, the whispered message, and the controlled confrontation had set the stage for a chain reaction. Influencers, journalists, and insiders all sensed it. Something was about to escalate, something that would leave both the audience and the participants stunned. Then, the first domino fell. An assistant, trying to discreetly manage camera angles, inadvertently caused a minor disruption. A microphone cable snagged, a lighting adjustment misfired, and suddenly, there was a brief but noticeable technical hiccup in the live feed. To the average viewer, it might have seemed trivial, but in the high-stakes, meticulously orchestrated environment of the Emmys, it was a catalyst. It created a momentary void, a gap in attention that Meghan exploited flawlessly. With the room's focus now subtly shifted, she advanced another step, commanding attention without a single aggressive gesture. Cameras captured every nuance: the tilt of her head, the precision of her movements, the quiet authority in her posture. Every frame was perfect, every second magnified, and every social media clip exploded across platforms. The world was watching, dissecting, and analyzing. Jost, aware of the mounting attention and the subtle shifts in narrative control, attempted to regain equilibrium. He interjected with a polite yet firm comment, trying to redirect focus and maintain decorum. But Meghan, anticipating the response, countered with a measured smile and a glance that conveyed both awareness and strategy. It was a silent dialogue, a contest of perception, where words were secondary to optics and influence. Backstage, staffers and producers realized that the situation had escalated beyond any prior expectations. The combination of Meghan's presence, the mysterious figure's influence, and the viral social media reaction created a perfect storm. Every decision, every adjustment, every movement now carried amplified consequences. And just when it seemed the confrontation might stabilize, the unthinkable happened. An unplanned interaction, brief, almost accidental, yet profoundly impactful, occurred between Meghan and a high-profile attendee. Cameras caught the exchange in a split second, and social media erupted anew. Observers described it as a pivotal moment, one that would redefine how the event was remembered and dissected for weeks to come. The energy in the room shifted again. What had started as a whispered message and a subtle movement had now evolved into a full-blown spectacle. Every participant, from Jost to producers to fellow attendees, recognized that the dynamics had changed irreversibly. Meghan Markle was no longer just a guest. She was the centerpiece of a narrative she controlled with precision. And yet, even as the chaos unfolded, a final, unexpected twist loomed. Someone, still unaccounted for in the narrative, prepared to make a move that would shatter assumptions, challenge control, and escalate the drama to a level that no one, not even those backstage, could predict. The air in the Emmys venue was suddenly electric, heavy with anticipation, as if every camera, every eye, every sensor in the building sensed that the evening was about to erupt. This was no ordinary twist. This was a catalyst that could rewrite the night's narrative before a single award was handed out. The mysterious individual, whose presence had gone mostly unnoticed until now, stepped into the light with a purpose that was impossible to ignore. Meghan Markle, already commanding attention, subtly adjusted her stance, her gaze tracking this new player. There was an almost imperceptible nod between her and the figure, a silent acknowledgement that the stage was set for something unpredictable. The moment hung like a live wire, crackling with tension, every heartbeat in the room synchronized to the pulse of anticipation. For Collin Jost, it was the moment he had dreaded. He had been monitoring Meghan, anticipating her moves, preparing for all contingencies. But this third variable was outside the equation. He had no playbook for what was about to happen. The unaccounted-for figure carried themselves with quiet authority, radiating confidence that demanded attention even before any words were exchanged. And then the first shock arrived. The individual raised a hand, not aggressively, not with malice, but with calculated precision, as if signaling the start of an event that only they fully understood. Cameras caught the subtle movement, social media feeds instantly picked it up, and commentators began speculating wildly. Who is this mysterious figure? What is their connection to Meghan Markle? Is this a stunt, or something bigger? The room itself seemed to pause. Staffers backstage whispered frantically. Producers tapped earpieces, issuing last-minute directives. Security personnel, previously relaxed, stiffened with awareness. The unfolding drama had escalated beyond ordinary celebrity maneuvering. It was now a psychological game, a high-stakes interplay of perception, optics, and control. Meghan Markle's reaction was measured but precise. She maintained the poise that had defined her public persona for years, yet the slight shift in her eyes, the subtle tilt of her head, betrayed recognition of the potential impact this individual could have. Every movement mattered now, because in this environment, perception was power. Every gesture would be analyzed, every expression scrutinized, every second replayed millions of times. Then came the first verbal interaction. A single sentence, delivered quietly yet clearly, cut through the tension. "You've underestimated the situation," the figure said, voice calm but deliberate. It wasn't loud, but it carried authority. It wasn't confrontational, but it conveyed control. The statement resonated immediately with Meghan, who responded with a subtle shift of posture, an almost imperceptible but confident step forward. Collin Jost, observing from his position, felt the shift immediately. This was no longer about etiquette or the flow of the award ceremony. This was about control of narrative, influence over optics, and the manipulation of perception in real time. Every professional instinct, he had screamed that this was a turning point. The room's energy began to ripple. Guests shifted slightly in their seats, sensing the drama. Cameras, trained on the main stage, subtly pivoted to capture every nuance of interaction. Social media notifications exploded. Hashtags surged. Hashtag Emmy shock. Hashtag Meghan moment. Hashtag mystery figure. Within seconds, speculation was in full swing, and the narrative was beginning to spin out of anyone's control. Then, an unexpected catalyst intensified the situation. A live feed camera inadvertently captured an interaction in the background, something previously unnoticed. A whispered conversation, a hurried gesture, a paper exchanged, but it was enough to ignite a frenzy. Observers online immediately began theorizing. Was that a message? Did someone slip Meghan a note? Is there a secret alliance forming? The speculation alone amplified the tension tenfold. Meghan, aware of the live feeds, took deliberate steps to control the optics. Each movement was choreographed instinctively, every expression calibrated to convey confidence without arrogance, control without aggression. This wasn't just a public appearance. This was strategic positioning. In the volatile world of celebrity and social media, optics could be weaponized as effectively as any statement. Collin Jost tried to regain composure, adjusting his expression, modulating his voice and offering polite commentary. But the unaccounted-for individual had disrupted the equilibrium entirely. The room's attention was no longer on the event itself or even the awards. It was on the tension, the interplay, the high-stakes chess match unfolding in real time. Backstage, producers scrambled to manage the broadcast. They tried to redirect cameras, issue cues, and maintain flow, but it was futile. The drama had already taken on a life of its own. Clips were being shared, commented on, and analyzed by millions of viewers within moments. What was meant to be a controlled, glamorous event was now a viral spectacle fueled by strategy, perception, and social media amplification. And then, just when it seemed the tension might stabilize, the individual took the next step, something so bold, so unanticipated, that it sent shockwaves through everyone present. A subtle action, a deliberate gesture, a movement that on the surface appeared innocuous but carried enormous implications. It was enough to disrupt the delicate balance of power, challenge Jost's control, and place Meghan firmly at the center of the unfolding narrative. At that moment, the entire room seemed to hold its collective breath. Staffers froze, security stiffened, and cameras zoomed in. The live audience, oblivious to the intricate orchestration behind the scenes, sensed the escalation. Social media feeds erupted with speculation and intrigue. Every viewer was waiting for the next move, for the moment when all subtle gestures and whispered words would culminate in a public revelation. Meghan's eyes flickered with recognition. She understood immediately that this move could redefine the narrative, not just for the evening, but for the entire public perception of her presence. It was a calculated risk, a strategic play that could either cement her dominance or create unprecedented backlash. Collin Jost, for the first time that evening, recognized that the event was no longer under his control. Every word, every gesture, every camera angle was now influenced by forces he had only partially anticipated. The unaccounted-for individual had created a scenario where perception, influence, and timing mattered more than any prepared script or polite exchange. And just as the room teetered on the edge of chaos, a subtle, almost imperceptible signal passed between Meghan and the mysterious figure who had guided the earlier moves. The signal was simple, a nod, a glance, a shift in posture, but it carried a world of meaning. It suggested that the next move was imminent, a decisive action that would shock the audience, dominate headlines, and redefine the evening's narrative forever. The tension was unbearable. Everyone backstage knew it. Everyone in the audience felt it. And for millions online watching through their screens, the anticipation was electric. No one could predict what would happen next, but they knew, instinctively, that the night was about to reach a dramatic, unforgettable climax. The room fell into an eerie silence, the kind of quiet that precedes chaos. Every attendee, every camera operator, every security guard seemed to sense that something irreversible was about to happen. Meghan Markle's poised exterior belied a storm brewing beneath, a storm that was about to erupt in a spectacle no one had anticipated. For Collin Jost, the tension was almost suffocating. He had navigated live television, high-profile interviews, and countless red carpet events, but nothing prepared him for this. The combination of Meghan's strategic composure and the enigmatic presence of her ally created an unpredictable dynamic. Every instinct he had screamed caution, yet every eye in the room was now fixed on the unfolding narrative, waiting for the moment that would define the night. Then it happened. A single, deliberate movement from Meghan, a shift of weight, a turn of the head, a fleeting glance toward the cameras, was all it took. In that instant, she captured the attention of every lens, every screen, every pair of eyes present. But it wasn't just about presence, it was about control. With precision, she initiated a sequence of events that would ensure the world's gaze remained locked on her, that the narrative was hers to shape. The mysterious figure, now fully revealed to be a key influencer behind the scenes, stepped forward just enough to guide the optics. Their gestures were subtle yet commanding, ensuring that every camera angle, every live feed, every social media clip amplified Meghan's dominance. It was an orchestration of perception so flawless that it felt almost cinematic. Collin Jost, realizing the unfolding spectacle was beyond his ability to moderate, attempted to interject with a comment. Meghan, maybe we. But his words were cut off by the momentum she had generated. The room's focus had shifted entirely, and any interruption risked diminishing the impact of the calculated sequence she had set into motion. The first viral moment was captured by an unsuspecting photographer, a fleeting interaction between Meghan and another high-profile guest. A brief touch, a whispered exchange, was framed perfectly by the camera. Social media erupted instantly. Clips were shared, retweeted, and dissected by millions in real time. Hashtags like hashtag Emmy shock, hashtag Meghan moment, hashtag red carpet drama, and hashtag unexpected power play trended within minutes. Commentators speculated, debated, and theorized. What did she whisper? Who is guiding her? Is this staged or authentic? Backstage, producers scrambled. Control of the live broadcast was slipping. Every decision, every cue, every microphone adjustment became critical. The drama unfolding in front of them was no longer a matter of glamour or awards. It was now a spectacle of influence, strategy, and psychological mastery. Meghan's presence alone was commanding attention, but the real masterstroke was what she did next. She advanced with purpose toward a cluster of cameras, pausing just long enough to allow every lens to capture her in perfect framing. Every movement was intentional, every gesture calculated, every expression carefully curated. It was as if she had stepped into a choreography written for maximum viral impact. Collin Jost's composure began to falter. He had navigated countless live interactions, but this was unprecedented. The combination of Meghan's poise, the mysterious figure's guidance, and the live amplification of social media had created a perfect storm. Every moment he spent trying to regain control only emphasized the shift in power that had already occurred. And then, the second viral moment, one that would be replayed endlessly in news cycles and social media feeds, occurred. A subtle but loaded gesture, almost imperceptible to the naked eye, but captured perfectly by a live camera, conveyed a message louder than words ever could. The audience erupted with speculation. Was that a warning, a signal, or a challenge? Within moments, pundits, gossip accounts, and mainstream outlets were dissecting the moment in painstaking detail. The tension was compounded by the reactions of other celebrities present. Some attempted to mask surprise, others visibly shifted uncomfortably, and a few exchanged knowing glances. Everyone backstage knew they were witnessing an event that would dominate headlines, define social media trends, and potentially alter perceptions of celebrity influence and control. Then Meghan made her move that would seal the night's narrative. She approached Collin Jost directly, eyes locked, a calm yet commanding expression on her face. The world watched as the anticipated confrontation seemed inevitable, yet instead of aggression, she employed strategy. Her words were measured, her tone assertive yet controlled. You think this is about etiquette? It's not. It's about awareness and influence. Collin's response was measured but strained. He attempted professionalism, offering a polite acknowledgement, but it lacked the authority needed to counteract the momentum Meghan had built. The live cameras captured every micro-expression, an interplay of restraint, tension, and realization that the narrative had shifted irreversibly. Social media became a storm. Clips of Meghan's gestures, Collin's reactions, and the mysterious figure's subtle orchestration were shared across platforms, sparking debates, speculation, and viral commentary. Within minutes, trending lists were dominated by references to the unexpected spectacle. Meghan commands the Emmys. Collin faces unprecedented challenge. Mystery figure behind Meghan's masterstroke. Backstage.